Now, we often hear this that Waiting for Godot is a very funny play. The question is, how funny is Waiting for Godot? One thing which is often forgotten in critical discussions of Waiting for Godot is the fact that the play is very funny. While at the University of Dublin, Beckett frequently attended vaudeville theatre. Beckett loved watching the films of Charlie Chaplin, Laurel and Hardy, Harold Lloyd. Now, the influence of their slapstick comedy antics is very clearly evident in Godot. And recent productions have frequently cast comedians in the lead roles. There's a wide range of people who have done it, like Rick Mayall, Adrian Edmondson, Robin Williams. These are famous names, particularly Robin Williams. Vladimir and Estragon seem oddly comic and similar. Both are dressed like tramps with matching bowler hats. They are, however, distinguished by their specific health complaints. Vladimir has some sort of a problem with his prostate gland because he has a weak bladder. And as a result of this, he becomes quite literally a running joke throughout the entire course of the play. And he frequently ducks and moves towards the exit to relieve himself. Estragon, meanwhile, is preoccupied with taking off his boots because he has problems with his feet. So there are two types of pain: the pain of the feet and the pain of the prostrate, which leads to a very overactive bladder. But this pain, it brings them to a sort of a strange kind of harmony. We notice that part in Act 1 where Estragon says very feebly, "Help me." And Vladimir says, "It hurts." Estragon is shocked. "Hurts?" He wants to know if it hurts. And Vladimir then goes off into a sort of high moral ground. "No one ever suffers but you. I don't count. I'd like to hear what you'd say if I told you what I have." Estragon immediately reverts it and says, "It hurts." Vladimir repeats the same dialogue. "Hurts?" He wants to know if it hurts. Now, this is very funny. But we notice that in Waiting for Godot, laughter very often coincides with pain, with indignity, or obscenity. Now, if you take this combination of scatological and slapstick humor, when Vladimir is told that which immediately follows, that his trouser fly is open, or if we notice Estragon's excitement when he hears that he might get an erection from hanging himself. Now, these moments jostle and they compete with more complex forms of verbal humor. For example, when Vladimir ponders why he waits until the last moment before going to the toilet. So Vladimir, in a very metaphysical, musing mode, he meditates and says, "The last moment, hope deferred maketh the something sick." Who said that? Estragon, more realistic, grounded, "Why don't you help me?" And Vladimir then says, "Sometimes I feel it coming all the same. Then I go all queer and, how shall I say, relieved and at the same time appalled." And then he stresses it, appalled. As I said, this is both the act of relieving himself, which is peeing, and also the sense of being appalled about the condition of the world. As in most of Beckett's prose and dramatic works, the wordplay and the gags are very clever. We know that there's a very subtle pun on the idea of relief, physical relief, emptying the bladder, and of course an emotional relief, getting off the stage in time. And that is woven into a biblical reference, and that is then transferred to a much more metaphysical meditation or musing or a thought on the general condition of humanity, where things are appalling. Early audiences, of course, noticed this inclination towards biblical repartees, and they understood that this was a very sort of well practiced comic match which was going on. A table tennis match, balls being returned between each other in a very pat manner. Now, this is not all, because in other parts the comedy is pretty dark. At the moment, for instance, when the abused and downtrodden Lucky begins to cry, the audience might begin to wonder what species of drama they are watching. Estragon goes over to Lucky to wipe away his tears, but Lucky returns this gesture by kicking him violently in the shins. Now, this sudden switch from compassion to brutality seems both comic and disturbing. Beckett's note that he is writing in the hybrid genre of tragicomedy should, of course, also be borne in mind. Now, we know this, that laughter, as the very famous French philosopher Henri Bergson, Henry Henri Henri Bergson, Bergson, Bergson wrote, laughter has the function of immunizing us to pain. It provides a momentary anesthesia of the heart. Maybe Beckett is also practicing this with his characters, Vladimir and Estragon, as they struggle and survive through this ordeal of waiting.